Hello, good evening. My name is Miguel Amado. I am the director of Series Art Centre in Cove, County Cork, Ireland, and I'm very happy to welcome you all to the third and last of the series of workshops that the artist Amanda Rice and the scholar and curatorial fellow at Sirius, Georgia Perkins, have been organizing. They will do an introduction to the overarching theme of the series, plus they will introduce Becky, the artist that is going to be engaging with us today. It's a great pleasure and an honor to actually welcome Becky to this Zoom meeting and to engage with her through Amanda and Georgia. At Sirius, we try to still maintain some digital programming, particularly focusing on knowledge development and knowledge production. It's a way of broadening our perspectives and of also broadening our networks, and also a way for many of us that are interested in criticality and in engaging in the world with the world through different perspectives from those that are dominant, to come together to share ideas, share intentions, ambitions, and exchange information that may be useful to all of us. As I said, this is part of a series that Amanda and George have been organizing, which have been running for the last couple of months. And they will also connect, the series also connects with Amanda's and Georgia practices more broadly. Amanda will have an exhibition at Sirius later in May, and George has been working with Sirius in different occasions. So without further ado, I hand over to George and Amanda, and I thank you all for joining us today and for engaging with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction, Miguel. Welcome to Fictional Reconfigurations and Embodied Transformations, a series of online workshops organised by Georgia Perkins and myself, Amanda Rice, facilitated by the Sirius Art Centre. The series aims to depart from fiction as a tool to construct alternative worlds, not only addressing end-of-world scenarios, but potential ways of living otherwise that move beyond the violent currents of neoliberalism and capitalism. Through multiple different kinds of reshaping and restructuring the contours of what otherwise constitute the alternative imaginary, this workshop series explores the use of the prefix linguistic device "re", pointing to the possible forms of resistance to the current crises of today by posing practical alternatives to the violent and inefficacious structures which bring about emergencies and calamity into existence.
The series features the artists Nina Davies, Becky Lyon and Joe Pester, who respond to more than human intelligence, modes of communication and agricultural practices. Over the course of 3 sessions, speakers and participants will use aspects of fiction and embodiment to rehearse stances, rebody earthly curriculums and reconfigure interspecies communication. The workshop series will speculate on the potential for change in the present and conditions for a reimagined future.
Becky Lyon is an English-Jamaican artist working at the intersection of art, ecology, and neighbourhood. She is interested in how art practice can help us rebody back into the animate, vibrant, tangly messwork of our ecology, and is interested in ecology as a source book for co-flourishing in times of ruin. Her work manifests in multiple forms, from tactile installations to rituals, sensory artifacts, and word foolery.
The World Health Organization says it's conducting a risk assessment for those unable
to... mic on. Thank you. She's ground of ground provisions and artist-led schooled by the forest for grown-ups, hosting participatory gatherings, walks, sensory seminars and reading groups for a range of audiences. She has an MA Art and Science from Central St. Martin's and an MA of Art and Ecology from Goldsmiths University, and is a volunteer at the London National Park City, and is a volunteer. She's a volunteer London National Park City Ranger.
Becky's workshop is called Breaking Spells, Spelling Worlds to Come, and explores how ecologies have become environments bewitched by all kinds of spells designed to make us feel unwelcome, even violently excluded. She turns to Nick Hayes's The Book of Trespass, which argues that private property and land ownership bewitch us into certain behaviours and actions, as for instance, when the move from the Commons to the Enclosure Act abolished access to open fields and common land. Language encodes modes of relations, and the session will look at how spells can be broken and letters can be restrung to speak, think, and write ourselves into new modes of relating. Together, the group will return earthly curricula and exercise word-wielding power.
We will now hand over to Becky to begin the first of this three-part series. But first of all, I would like to thank Miguel and the series for hosting these workshops, and also the Arts Council of Ireland Agility Award as well. Thank you. Over to Becky.
Hello, good evening, everyone. That was quite some introduction. That was a whole like cake of introductions. Hopefully everyone is well versed on who we are, why we're here, and what we're going to get up to. And we have about an hour and 15 minutes to live up to this promise of breaking spells and spelling worlds to come. So let's see what we can do. So I'm very conscious it's well, over here in the UK it's 6 o'clock, so it's kind of just past work time or uni time. Probably haven't quite had your dinner yet, need a bit of energy, so we're mainly going to spend like the next hour and 15 minutes being a bit playful, using our senses. Giggling is allowed. This is obviously serious subject matter, but yeah, let's bring it with some bit of lightness. So before I kind of explain some of the rationale behind this theme, or like the provocation or the itch behind the theme, we are going to attend to this little apparatus that we use all the time. It's the apparatus where these spells emerge. So for those of you that are comfortable with your camera on but your microphone off, I'm just going to put a few letter strings in the chat, and just want us to have do a bit of mouth exercise. So yeah, to the screen if you're happy, or feel free to keep it off. And yeah, just I'm going to do a few word strings at a time, so just really enjoy saying these letters out loud. Again, with your microphone off, you can be loud, you can whisper, you might just mouth it, but really explore the possibilities of what this apparatus can do. Respect to you all, especially those of you that are like, I'm going to put my camera on. I'm going to put on a show. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we don't do it enough, do we? Don't exercise, you know, to see what sounds are possible. And obviously we're conditioned with our own mother tongues or guest tongues. So yeah, thank you very much. That will prime you for the activities to come. So what we're going to do today, so already had a lovely introduction from the rest of the team, but just to recap very briefly, I think you've been introductioned out. I'm Becky, originally from Croydon, represent, now living in North London, an artist working at the intersection of ecology and local neighbourhood, and trying to think about what we can do with this thing that we called art practice and what on earth it might have to do with these kind of really sticky, complex matters of ecological and social justice, with a focus really on kind of using practice to re-enchant us back to the natural world. Yeah, I have just started or formalized an artist-led school by the forest called Ground Provisions, which is a whole bunch of workshops, gatherings, walks. I have a kind of multidisciplinary practice. At the moment, I have a piece of work which is unfired and unpolished clay and fabric. I have a piece that's just opened this week called Can a Perfume Trespass? Trespass's Talisman, which has pertinence to what we're doing today, and a whole bunch of series of walks coming up. But I'll tell you a bit about myself as we go along. But let's jump to the theme of the day. So I'm just going to share my screen and give me some thumbs up if you can see it. Wow, fantastic. They've got gestures in the house. That's wonderful. Cool. So what we're going to do, so this is going to be our kind of glossary board that hopefully we're going to build out together. But for now, don't worry about being able to populate this board. You just focus on the chat and got your kind of own journaling, and we'll work on populating this. But I did want to draw your attention to, I guess, the prologue for this workshop, which is a series of quotes. And to be quite honest, there are many I could have selected. But I'll just draw attention to the Natasha Myers one, which I know was featured in some of the literature around this event. So we have to remember that we are living under a spell, and this spell is destroying our worlds. It's time to cast another spell, to call other worlds into being, to conjure other worlds within this world. It's clear that the situation we find ourselves in leaves us at the limits of language and grasping at the edges of imagination. We need art, experiment, and radical disruption to learn other ways to see, feel, and to know. And a way, if you snoozed off for the rest of the workshop, this is kind of the crux of the provocation for it. And I think many of you that will be joining this or that have already tuned in will kind of be quite acutely aware of the fact that words have a power to shape our worlds, and it's a fascination of mine. And if you've come across any kind of Instagram post or exhibition text, there's always some kind of strange, maybe slightly pretentious portmanteau where I'm kind of playing or trying on words for size to try and grasp at kind of what I'm really meaning. And by shaping our worlds, I guess I mean specifically the idea that words appear to create kind of rules, logic, and order to things. They seem, or they try to capture fugitive phenomena and occurrences, and in order to make things shared and referenceable. And I'm also really intrigued by the verb to spell, which is both, of course, a string of letters to make something referenceable. So by spelling a word out, we now can share the meaning between us. But also, of course, this idea of conjuring, manifesting, enchantment, and kind of, understanding that that's a power that we have. And that's something that I'd like us to draw out, the power that letters, making words, making concepts, making meaning, making logic, making rules, making containers, making barriers, making states, making worlds have had on us, and creates this shared thing that we call a world, and that we're all currently surviving very differently in. And as Georgia alluded to in the introduction as well, this idea that we're potentially under multiple spells, but actually, if we reconfigure or transmogrify those letters, can we actually break them and spell new worlds to come? So again, one that was referenced, and kind of this idea that kind of first started seeding in me was Nick Hayes, who's author of the book of Trespass, which has become a very well-referenced book, especially in the context of what's happening in the UK right now. And he introduced this idea of words like property and trespass as being a form of bewitchment. It has a power. You only need to read or hear those words and it seems to cast a spell on you. I must not enter. If I put my foot on this ground as opposed to this ground, I'm committing a crime. It bewitches you. And I'm definitely coming from a standpoint in the UK. And obviously my background is ecology and thinking about how our relationship with the lands that we inhabit have become bewitched by all kinds of spells, just like this. A lot of the time making us feel unwelcome and making us feel violently excluded. And when I say us, I mean us as a spectrum of people inhabiting this land, and of course it manifests in different ways. And then once you start kind of wising up this idea as words as bewitchment, you start seeing it everywhere. Expat, migrant, kind of one glides off one way and one induces aggravation and fear. It's like letters strung out differently elicit powerful responses. And then of course you could think about the words nature, environment, ecology. They all elicit slightly different responses. And what about the word citizen to refer to my existence here in the United Kingdom? And what would happen if I changed that to a companion or an inhabitant? And as we know, kind of, it's been well documented and it's apparent that Indigenous and regional languages have been suppressed out of, in some cases, existence, and with it all of the kind of subjects, knowledges and lifeways associated with it. And this kind of really swollen lexicon that used to describe fastidious and fleeting phenomenon and perceptions has really dehydrated in favor of standardization and kind of very intentional crafting. And just to allude back to Donna Haraway's quote, which is on the board, and again, very often referred to, it matters what words worlds. And our world, if I can say it, and also tongue tie is also part of this experience. Embrace the tongue tying. World building word set has been trimmed and tied by gatekeepers to prioritize what's worthy of noticing, what's worthy of classification, what's worthy of living and dying. And in the context of ecological connection, which is where I'm coming from in particular, this idea of ordering, orthodoxy, flattening things into neat boxes has been baked into our everyday parlance, and it's kind of flattened that sparkle of animacy and vibrancy that we'd usually or would otherwise associate with our ecology. And there are lots of examples of other cultures or languages or word strings where actually they've evidenced that by stringing out these words differently, you can build a different relationship. So the Warani people don't give individual names to what we would call tree species without describing the ecological context, such as the composition of the plant and its surrounding vegetation. And of course, in the UK, we had the triome alphabet, which was a Celtic system used to encode wisdoms about trees in the letters about the trees. And we can touch on this as we go along. But I guess the provocation for today is how could we wield back our world-shaping, shifting, word-powered possibility? So, for example, what if we shift talking about water not as a resource, but as a relation? What happens if we start adding new pronouns into the mix? Kin or ki, as opposed to it, as often offered by Robin Wall Kimmerer? What if we start to seed our language with deep specificity? So for me, I came up with the word dropsig, which is the kind of deep melancholy for the leaves that leaves changing in autumn that I feel. So it's kind of a joy at the colours changing, but also a kind of sadness that winter's on the way. The ephemeral experience of sunlight filtering through a canopy of leaves in Japanese is described as komorebi, and there's lots of examples of this. So kind of what kind of relations can we imagine if we had the right word to hand? What kind of worlds could we speak ourselves into? And what we're going to do today is start thinking about how we might begin the process of breaking spells? Well, first of all, illuminating spells, breaking them, and then spelling these worlds to come. And what can we achieve in an hour, you say? We're going to run through a series of exercises together, similar to our mouth moving exercise at the beginning. So kind of fast fire energetic activities, just to start opening up our word making possibilities. So that was a lot of download. Let's hear a little bit from you to begin with. So before we start our exercises, I just want to put a few journaling prompts in the chat, and feel free to either respond in the chat. That might be quite nice, so we can see or kind of get a read on how other people are situated, or if you would prefer to keep your thoughts to yourself for now, that's totally fine as well. Now let me do this thing. Oh, here we go. So I've got a double screen, which is why I'm looking over here. Fantastic. So we're just going to spend, honestly, just a few minutes, 3 minutes, just very intuitively responding to some of these journaling prompts. So here's your first one. Just a minute on that one. And what we'll do, if it's okay with you, there'll be moments to journal privately, journal in this chat. But if some kind of particularly evocative words come up, we will transfer them over to the glossary. So we're building a bit of a collective portrait. So 1 minute. First of all, which words or word, I think, would you like to rewrite or undo from the dictionary? I'll mute myself so I'm not giggling. Wonderful. Oh, I can tell I'm just really going to want to probe into all of these things. Fantastic. Yeah, I'd be happy to add it to the chat. That's really wonderful, because I think it's kind of generous to bounce off each other. Fantastic. Okay, jumping onto the next one. What do you think needs a rewrite, or what needs to be restoried at the moment? Wonderful, thank you. And last but not least, third one, which spells need breaking at the moment? Which spells need breaking at the moment? Just another 30 seconds. I know these are big questions. Wow. Oh, these are wonderful. Oh my goodness. So just to recap, so I think they should be voiced in the room. Which words would you like to rewrite or undo from the dictionary? Invoice, enemy, covetousness, earth. So many: dominance, accumulation, conquest, time, mind and body. What do you think needs to a rewrite, or what needs to be restored at the moment? The idea of immigrants as invaders, a common narrative, or parasites, relationship to earth, nature, pollination, poetic thinking, colonization and relationship to body, pollination again, resource logic, toxicity. Which spells need breaking at the moment? The consumer spell, that of the colonizer, separation, the endless growth is the answer, extraction, economic disparity, capitalism, archival erasure, DDP, GMP, relationship to animals, the working week, green colonialism. Cool, okay, let's try and sort this, shall we? Wonderful. So what we're going to do is try out some strategies for breaking spells and spelling worlds to come, literally through word power. And we're just going to spend the rest of the session loosening up our speaking apparatus and have some fun summoning things unseen, potentially reading in different ways, teasing glossary from the tips of our tongues and under the buds, and creating a bit of a literary lab together. So before we do all that big work here, let's make sure let's see if we can change the words we're using. So what we're going to do is kind of collect little word seeds as we go, and what I've suggested is maybe you want to make your own little glossary that you can tuck into your sketchbook, notebook, current reading material pile of bills that you need to pay. And if it's all right with you, as we go along, we might kind of share some of these words on this board together. So first of all, just because I've found actually, if you have a sheet of A4 and you're writing that way, you think slightly differently. So I know I said that to bring a knife, but let's not worry about that for now. I don't want you worrying about the folding. So for now, if you have an A4 sheet of paper, oh, and this is where the let me just get rid of this funky background, although you could probably get it through my language. So take your A4 piece of paper, fold it in half, easy peasy. So fold it long ways horizontally, fold it in half again, and you fold it in half again. The easiest peasiest. And then usually what you do to make this kind of more multi-page is you would cut above the top, but we're not going to worry about that now because I don't want us to waste time. But for now, just use this as your little book. So these are your pages, and you can open it up and make that a page and make that a page. So you should have like 16 quadrants in total. So maybe every time you come up with a new thought or word, that can adorn a different page. This will be your own little dictionary that you take with you. Is everyone all right? They've got a piece of paper. You don't have to have a piece of paper, but there's something kind of tactile, even the sound of the paper, and something that you can take with you, put in your travel card holder, and feels quite nice. So the first thing that we're going to do is start. First of all, is everyone okay? All clear? Raise hands if anything is unclear. Otherwise, we're just going to get started with some of the exercises, and don't worry, you will hear your voices soon. After each one, we'll have a bit of a reflection. So the first exercise is going to require your edible and smelly thing. Does everybody have that? It could even just be the cup of tea that you have. It could be something that you grab from the fridge. I'll give you 60 seconds if you don't have anything. Something smellable and something tasty. Grab anything. I'll give you 60 seconds, which is 6:33 my time. Okay, how are we doing? We're looking like we're back. Fantastic. So the first exercise we're going to do is around loosening up our vocabulary. So sometimes you experience, or oftentimes, probably 99% of the times, you experience something and words just fail, and nothing appropriate comes to mind or mouth. Perhaps we aren't encouraged to be inventive and indeed make things up. And sometimes it could be a struggle to grasp at things that are non-things, so textures, smells, atmospheres, feelings can feel particularly elusive. So we're just going to exercise our senses to kind of start loosening up some potential word making. So the first thing is, so whatever you have that is edible, start eating it now. So it might be that you have a drink, which is fine. It can be water, by the way, just something that could go in your mush. Fantastic. So start sipping, chewing right now. And what I'd like you to do is write down some words that emerge around the mouth feel. So not the taste right now, the mouth feel. How does this said edible, drinkable feel in your mouth? And yeah, feel free to put it in the chat. Go on, pay attention to the temperature. So how is it, whatever you're eating, playing against the temperature of your own mouth? And have a think about how, yeah, it's reacting with different parts. Like, is it sitting on the tongue? How does said thing feel on the tongue? How does it feel against your cheeks? Okay. And now with the could be the same thing, or you might have something else that is fragrant. We're going to take a moment to give it a sniff. So first of all, take some long sniffs of whatever it is that you're inhaling. Is there such thing as a long sniff? Is sniff by virtue short? A long inhale. And start writing down what it is that you smell. And as you go, I'm going to start probing you a bit. So, you know, we've got nostalgia. What is the smell of nostalgia? Is it something that it's reminding you of something nostalgic? Push it a bit further. And same with sweetness. What do you mean by sweetness as a smell? Is it that you're tasting the sweetness at the same time? Then, you know, sweetness comes in a palette. There's the sugary, there's a fruitiness. Past memory, artificial. Yeah, interesting. Artificial. So how would you do, what distinguishes artificial to you? Is it chemically? Is it a particular chemical? Is it an experience that you've had? Same with medicinal. All kinds of things can be medicinal. A bay leaf can be medicinal. A chemical can be a chemical medicine can be medicinal. Yeah, I lost the words there as well. Stingy, tingly, earthy, permeating. Natural, again, yeah, what does natural mean? Probe a bit further, probe yourself. When you're smelling it, is it weather that you're smelling? Is it the ground? Is it water? Is it reminding you of a fruit or a vegetable? Same thing, metallic. What kind of metallic? Is it the inside of a tin? Is it the feel when you bite on a fork? Is it the taste of gold? Dirty, again, what is dirty? Is it a stinky socks dirty? Is it soil dirty? Is it stale? Try again. Yeah, soil dirty. Thanks for clarifying. Cold tin, yeah, absolutely. Carnival, okay, yeah. And now with the same thing, give it a short sniff. So we did some long inhales. Now sniff like you're a creature on the ground, taking short, sharp, kind of rapid breath. Cool, how are we doing? Great, so fruity. Yeah, tell me what kind of fruit? Of all the palettes, what fruit? Woods, what wood is it? Is it wood on a wet, rainy day? Is it kind of freshly peeled? Is it, you know, IKEA showroom? Go ahead. Freshness, what kind of fresh? Is it cotton fresh? Is it garden lawn fresh? E numbers, yes, push yourselves. Garden fresh. What kind of garden? A barley garden in the summertime? You get where I'm going. Go really probe, try for detail. Tomato from a Sainsbury's plastic pack or freshly picked. Wonderful. Cool, and now take the words that you took from your long inhale and your short inhale and hybridize it together in the chat. So if your first word was sweet and your second one was wilderness, then they might become sweet wilder. If your first word was ginger and the second one was cold tin, maybe it's ginger cold tin. So smush them together. Don't be afraid to smush, and maybe mush them around if you need to. And finally, just on this sensory activity, so maybe you've got a bit more of your edible or your smellable. I want you to pay attention to the temperature. So it might be that you hold it and you compare the temperature of said thing with yourself. Maybe if you have a hot drink, it's dying down. Maybe it reminds you of a type of weather. There we go, Amanda. Stick synth, love it. So really grasp at the temperature, and you've seen what I'm getting at now. Go for hyper specificity. So given what we've just done, yeah, think about the way that you might describe the temperature of whatever it is that you're tasting, or the atmosphere in your mouth, or if you're smelling, yeah, whether you're sensing the cold. Wonderful. Cool. Okay, I think I've probed you enough on this one. So yeah, it was great to see now as you start to hybridize things together, or you start kind of seeing that you've got permission to kind of tune in, yeah, that things are starting to emerge now. These are wonderful. I think we can start moving those onto our shared glossary. But first of all, because I've been jibber jabbering the whole time, would love to just give a minute or two to you folks on the floor. Did anyone want to share any reflections on this exercise, i.e. how tricky it might have felt potentially? How alien it is to give ourselves permission to try and, oh, Andrea's on a roll. Ephemeral coolness F4. Yep, love them. How do we find this activity? What is it? What does it tell us about ourselves when we're grasping at, like, oh, it's cold, it's smooth? Which, by the way, these are all totally legitimate and fine. But in the interest of kind of really thinking about specificity, anybody want to share anything? I don't know if I can see hands.
I mean, I'll go first. I had a stick of Brighton Rock, and I don't particularly, haven't had it in years. So I think nostalgia wasn't a word that I used, but I suppose I really tuned into the textures and the feelings of it. Also, that kind of like synthetic food stuff, but I would tend to have more of a healthy diet now. But I felt like it definitely it kind of was a porthole into a kind of another realm of nostalgia. But like thinking about wordplay and words and trying to articulate or put meaning or language on something which is so kind of sensorial was really interesting, and it kind of brought a sense of mindfulness to the process of taste. But I also really enjoyed this kind of disparate kind of like, since trying to use our senses in short bursts or sharp longer bursts. And I really enjoyed the placing of the two words together, and was really surprised at how the final word, I think one was synth, what was it, synth stick, or which seemed to describe like this kind of like synthetic sticky. But I was surprised at how by merging the two words through the exercise kind of conjured some sort of new meaning.
Because what's interesting is obviously what tends to emerge when you first start doing the exercise is people have similar words, so they describe something as cold or spicy. And I'll ask everyone actually if you could put in the chat what it is that you brought with you. I expect they're really different. So I've got a cup of tea that's gone cold, and someone else will have a cake that's gone cold, and it doesn't do a good job of explaining it, really, does it? And it doesn't really tell us much about how you're feeling, where you're situated, where it came from. And also, like, I think with a bit of probing, we can tell a bit more of a story. So say I've got a cup of tea here, it doesn't smell like tea, it smells kind of like stale rubber or something, like tea doesn't, etc. And the taste of it's kind of like greeny, cloying. So yeah, it's an exercise in probing. Fabulous. So Andrea's like, with a cold, smelling was hard, frustration, enjoyment, because I felt words and specificity needed were not coming to me. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the at the crux of it. Wonderful. Okay, well, let's continue. Thank you so much for your good spirits for that. So next up, you're going to need, oh yes please, oh yeah, do add what you had. I'm really curious to know what people brought with them. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next little exercise or strategy, and this one's all around scrapping passages. So do you have some text with you? It might be the nearest thing on your desk, maybe you're marking papers, it might be bills, it might be some books, it might be anything. We must have text around us, so grab text. You only need one for now, and this is again kind of delving into kind of richness that already exists and is inspired by kind of scrapping and note-taking methodologies of Nemanis and Hamilton, and their kind of composting practice, and a friend and colleague of some of ours, Anastasia K. Kodreva, who is a real advocate for notes and scrappiness. So we're going to try and make a bit of a compost text between us. So with your text in front of you, and if you have a book, first of all, show us your book or your text. Let's see what you've got. Mine's Liquid, the delightful and dangerous substances that flow through our lives. Oh, what have we got there? Sex ecologies. Fantastic. I'm afraid I can't see everyone that well because I've got this double screen thing on. Oh, Arinda's got something. Oh, the site report. Fantastic. Okay. So what you're going to do is, if you have a book, open a page at random, close your eyes, and if you don't have a book, just with your text in front of you, do your kind of conjuring fingers and place it down until you land on a word. Don't move your finger. Open up your eyes, and we're going to just speak our word into the room. So what I'd like to do now is, if everyone's all right to turn your mic on, you don't have to have your video on, that's no problem. And we're just going, usually we would do this in a circle, but because we're Zooming, we're going to have to embrace the chaos, and we're going to speak out the word whenever it feels right, and see if some kind of order emerges from us. So just speak out the word that you've landed on, and it might be that we speak over each other. So let's see what emerges. May I ask one of my lovely hosts, either Georgia or Amanda, to attempt to write down what we found. Maybe you want to start. Amanda, I've got a thumbs up. Do you want to start with your word, and we'll cascade after you?
Yes, let me just grab a pen that works. So
and you don't have to say I found this, you just say your word out into the ether.
Okay. Islands.
Evaporates.
Feel. Release.
Collaborative.
Central.
Luster.
Shadow.
Whom.
The sea.
Oh, it's that tense moment with everybody be gone. Okay, that worked better than expected. Let's do it again. It was fun. I'm curious to see what else have you got. If you've got another book, you can do that, or you can just use the same book or the same paper. And same again, close your eyes. Let's get another word into the mix. Okay, and again, let's read aloud. Geometries.
Shame.
Worker.
Care.
Lyrics.
E-colony.
Glass.
Another.
Nerves.
Wonderful. Oh, I wish there was a way when people spoke over each other that we could like see them written alongside each other. We'll try that in a minute. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to do now, same again, go back into your book or paper, close your eyes again, shuffle it like a deck of cards, finger lands again, and this time a sentence. And we'll do the same activity. Grow up, time to grow up. You're here now.
There's no immediate danger to Earth.
An Indian friend once told me.
An inverted world in which evil enjoys carnivalesque license, and the police and the powerful are free to do what they want.
An existential question that confronts you with life and death right on.
What is your sensory response to seeing a bird species for the first time?
How can we create a more caring world, one capable of sustaining and nourishing all forms of life?
One might even call rioting a tradition, a claim I don't make lightly or in jest.
Simplicity is not itself a reason to cast gender of an analytical category.
Descending from the painting's upper right edge is a slim jetty.
I mean, I think we've made some legitimate theoretical philosophical text there. Generally want to know what people are reading as well. Oh, and well done for yeah, attempting to jot some of that down. Thank you. Cool. And the idea is kind of course, kind of using that sense of chance, scrappiness, to see what emerges when concepts are hanging out next door to each other. So we're going to do one more last exercise on this kind of scrapping passages. So you know what to do. Close your eyes one last time. And we're going to grab a sentence. And this time, once more with feeling, we're going to read the sentence backwards. Manner different, A in, entered group this.
Southeast, the two disappeared birds, 4 and northeast, heading was Shiptha.
Radiation cosmic is this of most.
Heaviness opiated, almost in eyelids, his gives eyeshadow, his way the check.
Care promiscuous of ethics, and call we what is this.
Possession and subordination, ownership of forms resist to continue, people black.
Borders bodies the exits and enters, what's control to ability, the on premised is health of achievements, the way either.
Taste Japanese of view orthodox, and way every in, not is his that out pointed be, should it but. Explication no needs, and itself or speaks aesthetic. Tanizaki.
Wire the in experience organized walls bounded many.
Individuality and dignity with rendered work, the of focus, the entirely are they.
Sorry, Miguel, I think you're on mute.
Tarde de fecham, manhã de abrem, rosa de cor, todas de miudinhas, mais as campestres flores, laranja de casca, peixe de espinha.
Wonderful. I saw Tinny smiling along to understand the Portuguese.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. So just whilst it's fresh, I'd just like you to capture in the chat something that shimmered to the surface. So obviously there was lots of words and strings spoken out there. What out of that tumble and cascade of kind of captured scrap words is hanging in your mind right now? Just another 30 seconds. So we had all of that tumbling into the space, some backwards, some words, some flowing, some at a really slow pace, especially the last exercise. We had to, there's no speed reading that, you have to really slow down. It's almost kind of a little bit arduous to listen to, a bit taxing to listen to. care, promiscuous of ethics, birds, enters and exits, zing sounds, focus and birds. Cool, birds got a double billing. Fantastic. Cool. So did anyone, again, we'll just give people a chance to put their voice in the room as well. Did anyone want to make any reflection on the scrapping exercise, particularly kind of the slowness, the randomness, the arduousness, the idea of plucking things again from across passages? Difficult, interesting.
I think reading backwards made me pay more attention to the meaning of each word. And also, like, the comment for the previous exercise we did, it was amazing. It just makes me want to create words for the next days. So thank you.
Yeah, that's the idea. And I think the idea with this is like, these are quite simple. These are things, they're just yeah, practices of attention and re-noticing. And I think, yeah, Amanda said her experience was kind of quite mindful. It's just that really slowing down and paying attention. Like, is that really what I mean? Is that really, does that really do justice to the experience I'm having right now? So yeah, that's really helpful. Anyone else on either of the two exercises?
Particularly the sentences which had not necessarily backward sentences, but the full sentences in terms of how it constructs a kind of a narrative. It felt quite otherworldly to me. I felt like I was in, I don't know. Oh, sorry, my mind is going blank. Twin Peaks, it really, you know, it just had this kind of like David Lynchian kind of, it was quite otherworldly for me in terms of like this construction of a dreamscape or a dream space or something. That's what it conjured for me. And it gave me, I suppose, the first thing that came into my mind was like, I don't know whether you know Sarah Swinar's film works, but she seems to, it seemed like an insight, that's how she makes her film work. She seems to cut texts and like drop sentences together. They're very layered. And as people were kind of like reading out their sentences and crossing over one another, and just kind of creating this layered kind of narrative that was structured yet unstructured, and there was a sense of randomness where many meanings could be engendered, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is our world building exercise, and maybe it'd be fun to kind of get the transcript of that kind of backwards read text, and if you try to collage it or try to put a visual or render against it, what kind of thing were we building, what kind of logics were slipping, which things were rubbing up against each other that might not ordinarily, who's like I don't know the authors of the texts. It might be HSBC, or it might be Tiffany Letharbo, or Octavia Butler. So interesting. Yeah, exactly, getting out of the rational thinking. Fantastic. Cool, thank you so much for that. So what we're going to do now is just have a quick pause. So any words that you've come up with for the first two exercises that you want to keep or want to memorialize, and maybe they're from other people as well, maybe you want to write down their words and just put a little note who said it. We'll just give you another minute to put that down on your little takeaway booklet, and whilst you're doing that, I will attempt to transfer some of these to our Miro board as well. So just another minute. So I know it's quite fast fire, but the idea is to keep it kind of intuitive and energetic. So yeah, just a minute or two to put your favorite words in your little books, and I'll try and do the same. Cool, I'll carry on as we go. Cool, so just a few seconds more. So we have 2 more little exercises. 3, we'll see what we can fit in. 2 little exercises, and then yeah, we'll have some time to have a chat. So I'd like to hear a bit more from you and get you to speak to each other as well. Wonderful. Okay, so the next one is strictly speaking, relatively simple. And this one is one you can do yeah, by yourself. So this one is all around animating. So the English language prioritizes nouns over verbs, which seems to imply a kind of fixity and order, as opposed to like a relationality and kind of sense of becoming and change that characterizes kind of more animate languages. So our next trick is to verbify. So what I'd like you to do is pick something to hand. Again, might be a hairband or a nail varnish or a window, and turn it into a verb and give it your own definition and think about how it makes you relate to it differently. So yeah, just another couple of minutes, something around, turn it into a verb. So give it an illy suffix or ify, so deskify, muggily, paperly, and give it, if you want, you don't have to give it a definition if a definition emerges, or how you relate to it differently just by turning it into a verb. So again, we'll give you about 90 seconds, and whilst you do that, I'll continue populating our board. Okay, sorry, I'm working out where my mute buttons and things are. Wonderful. Okay, I want to hear what you've verbed. Talk to me, talk to me. Who wants to volunteer a verb? Don't be shy. Go on, Eliza. I saw you on mute. I saw you on mute. Go for it.
Okay, yes, I've got glowily.
Glowily?
Glowily.
Oh, beautiful.
Do you want to know what my thing is?
Yeah. How did glowily emerge?
Glowily emerged from a lamp.
Oh, fantastic. Gorgeous. Thank you so much. Who's next? Show us your verbs.
Mine is to gargoyle.
Oh, wow. Tell us. What does that mean to you?
Well, I've got a little sort of small gargoyle in the rooms.
And what could it mean? What does the gargoyle mean now?
Sort of embodying the grotesqueness of that.
Fantastic. Love these. Julia is in the chat, and also feel free to put them in the chat if you prefer to do that and not speak out Limonify. Oh, sudden, refreshing, serene feeling as when you walk in Italy in the summer late afternoon and you find yourself near lemon trees. I want to lemonify myself. Yes, or limonify, apologies. And wonderful. Taboo, Tinny, Taboo, tell us.
Yeah, yes, it's, I don't know if you see this, maybe. Just to relax, you know, the hands and nerves, to touch something round. And my lamp is not, yeah, exactly.
Wonderful.
Yes, really touching.
Fantastic. So I'm, oh my goodness. Wonderful. Thank you, Tinny. Amanda, you're going to have to pronounce that and then tell us about it.
I mean, you should see my work desk. There's a myriad of different objects and things. Oh, so I have this like flexi disc record, and I just picked it up. It was the nearest thing to me. So it's record, but it's really floppy. So to rec floppily.
Oh, lovely.
You can see that it's really, yeah.
So I'm trying to type these all at the same time. This is wonderful. Cool. I'm loving your verbs. Verbify, animate the world again. Who else? What else you got? And feel free to put it in the chat. And also, we don't know if you can't explain it, but just want to throw the word in, we can gloss it for you. Any more. To feather. To teeter around the edges of a personal issue. Oh yeah, that feels like it exists as a word or a verb, doesn't it? It feels like something, yeah, it feels very relatable. Thank you, Sarah. Moodify. Yes, I'm into this, Eliza. Wonderful. Okay, well, you can keep adding to there. So I'm aware time is rapidly flowing, so let's move on. So by now we should be a bit more let loose. We've had a bit of a play, tried some exercises. So I'm just going to give you a little prompt, and feel free to just free write in any way you wish. So from wherever you are, so you might be outside, or you might have a lovely big window. Take a moment to look at the sky. So I'm not sure where you are and what light time it is, what the weather is saying. Just take a minute to really look at the sky. What's the weight of it? What's the weight of the sky right now? How close is it to you? How is it impacting your skin? How is the light interacting with you? What shades is it? How does it taste? What time is it telling you? How is it stirring you? Again, the famous minute, 90-second timer. Just spend a bit of time, and maybe you just want to privately journal this for now. Just kind of, or feel free to use the chat if you prefer. Yeah, just kind of free write, really pay attention. And with some of these strategies that we've been practicing today around kind of engaging different senses, kind of paying really close, slow, arduous, specific attention to things. Maybe you want to dip into your text to try and find something that works. Maybe you need to verbify what you're seeing. Just spend a few seconds reflecting on the sky. Okay, so just wrap up there. And then maybe what we could do, similar to the exercise we did where we were just speaking out, maybe you could read out a line or a word or a sound, anything from your kind of private reflection, and just speak it into the room again, similar to what we did previously. If you wouldn't mind doing that. I didn't actually write mine because I was so busy writing your glossary down. So someone else can start. I'm going to pick on Amanda.
One word or many words? Or you want
whatever from what you just emerged. You can read the whole thing out if you prefer, or anything.
I'll just go one at a time then. Smog soot.
Glare, a grey glare pressing down on us.
Dirt dist.
Thick, heavy gray sky making my whole body experience quite dry. I didn't realize I rhymed. I wrote it down. I didn't actually. Yeah, okay.
Natural.
Light metallic, aftershave-like, inviting to go out.
Near and far.
Blue-gray.
Grey cool smudge dust.
Perfect. Oh, it's like, how long is the pause? Like, is someone going to go? Wonderful. Okay, so we've run through a couple of kind of very fast fire activities in the pursuit of kind of taking on this heavy work of breaking these spells that have us all enchanted and bewitched, and thinking about, okay, if we're going to break them, how are we going to reconfigure those letters, and how are they going to express new things? So we started off with just getting our mouth apparatus going. Then we started thinking about bringing in our senses as a way of starting to kind of cross-pollinate experience. And then we did the scrapping passages activity, plucking things at random and letting them sing alongside each other in the air. Then we thinked about we thinked about animating or kind of reanimating what has been doled out of our language through nouns, and then kind of had a go at putting some of that into practice. So what I'd like us to do now, just to kind of close the loop of where we started, was thinking about the journaling prompts right at the beginning, where I asked you to take one word that you wanted to rewrite from the dictionary, or one story that needs restorying, or one spell that needs breaking. Maybe what we can do for simplicity is take one of the words that you wanted to rewrite from the dictionary and now rewrite it with one of the kind of strategies you've learnt now. So maybe if you're, I don't want to prompt too much actually, but take something that you wanted to rewrite, like enemy, and use one of your strategies, verbifying, sensorializing, scrapping a passage, to turn it into something else, invert it, give it a new meaning, re-enchant it, soften it, however you want to do it. And if you wouldn't mind, do I want you to put it in the chat? No, have a just write it in your little booklet for now. One word you wanted to rewrite from the dictionary, and rewrite it. This is your first step in practicing your spell breaking. So before we go about this work, we've got to make sure we've got the right letter strings to begin with. Otherwise, we're setting off wrong. Okay, wonderful. It would be wonderful to go around the group and those who are happy to share to give us your new dictionary word, and I'll obviously try and transcribe as quickly as possible. So yeah, the words that you wanted to rewrite and how you have rewritten it. It's fine to be work in progress. It's fine if you were stuck and it didn't quite emerge. Yeah, just love to hear it. I think it'd be like a generous thing. I don't know, Georgia can't see that I'm looking at her, but I'm looking at Georgia. Georgia, do you want to start? It's weird. There's still, like, now that we're back in person, the Zoom dynamics.
Yeah.
We forget.
Well, mine is more a verb to what I want to undo. So to gargoyle covetousness or gargo covet.
Love that. Sorry, I'm really having to test out my writing skills. That's gorgeous, thank you. And I love Tanae has put in the chat turning the invoice into in blue grey voice. Mega. Love that. The sky has imbued. Fantastic. Who's next? You can share it in the chat, or you can speak aloud. You can raise your hand if you want
next.
to.
I think I randomly said time. And expanderly point crush. Like, time is such an abstract kind of construct. So yeah, I can just type that in the chat actually.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
That's the one. Yeah, type that again. Thank you. Expanderly, what was it?
Point crush. I think
Expanderly point crush.
How do you describe time? It's such a kind of abstract in terms of like
So kind of holding both.
Yeah, I was thinking calendars, dates, points in time, days, so to expand the points but also kind of crush them down into some sort of dust.
Wonderful. I love that. Yeah, please put that in the chat so I can transfer that over. Wonderful. Oh, Andrea, reciprocity, extract. Oh, love it. Love this. Enemy is fear that needs a hug. Oh my word. Love this. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Yeah, feel free to share. This is a this is a warm, playful space. So yeah, please don't be afraid. If you haven't shared anything yet, you're warmly welcome to. All of these have a slightly different approach. There's a hybridizing or just a straight up re-glossing. Yeah, all are really wonderful. Anyone else like to share their broken spells? Mindy boined. Oh, I love that. Yeah, why don't we do that? Why has that not already entered it? Mindy boined. Love it. Yeah, feel free to use some like love emojis on these wonderful words. Really, really great. Any more? Time is a ticking. Or sorry, should I say expandedly point crush is evaporating. Cool. Oh, here we go. We've got a gloss for in blue grey voice, bringing the weight and smell of the sky to daily documents and forms. Yes. Okay. We've arrived at our world building kind of processes and logics and slippages of a totally different kind. Love this. Well done. Mission accomplished, folk. Cool. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our little evening exercises. So in your own time, feel free to drop some of your favorite words here today, even just to keep close this idea of these practices and this kind of power that we have, and a reminder of to keep questioning and keep glossing our own existence, really. So do that now, but I just wanted to give you a minute or two. Did anyone want to share any reflections? I know it's been quite a fast fire session, but any reflections on what we've done today, potentially some of the exercises that you found most generative or provided the most kind of helpful, fruitful, surprising results, things that were most challenging, words that you're going to take with you. Tanae, I saw you with a raised hand. Go ahead.
Yes, I've been very inspired lately by poetic thinking. I believe poetic thinking can be the reconnecting society, but also nature. And through your exercises, we are really starting by deconstructing words and we're making our way into this poetic thinking. I think was a brilliant exercise, and it's also very important to think about the tools that we have to see the world if we want to change the perception. So we use words and rational thinking. So it was very good from you to go a step backwards and to think about the words that we about the need to create new words in order to have a new perception.
Wonderful. Thank you. Such generous reflections, Tanae, as usual. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Anyone find it really difficult or utter nonsense? It's fine. It's fine to say it was utter nonsense as well.
I think at the beginning of the workshop, as well as sort of thinking about smell and thinking about temperature and also thinking about the sky as well, and kind of just sort of realizing how there's how limited maybe descriptions are towards those kinds of things, and how by putting words together or turning them into a verb, how that can already very much kind of change our meaning and reworld our experience of those kinds of senses. So yeah, so thank you.
No, that's really wonderful. And I think kind of the takeaway from that is, if we're struggling to describe a cup of tea, what chance do we have to kind of, ricochet out? So actually, it sounds, might feel kindergartenish to begin with, or a bit of a pointless activity, but actually it has implications for, we need to push ourselves to, dream new things into existence. So no, that's wonderful. Thank you, Georgia. Any more final minutes?
I think I'd like to just reflect on how pleasurable it was to hear different voices sharing the words, and I kind of realized how, and I think I do this a lot actually, I'm not listening to the words, I'm just kind of listening to the sort of sonorities and the kind of tones that are coming, and yeah, like that was like, I sometimes felt like I was kind of getting the workshop wrong, because I was sort of like zoning out from the wording and more in tune with the maybe feelingness of sounds, and but yeah, like really enjoying that kind of opportunity to share words and like hear different voices and tones. So yeah, that's something I got out of this that really struck me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And no, you're totally right. And that's almost like another set of exercises all around the tones. Obviously, I was gracious enough not to ask you to put your microphones on at the beginning, but perhaps I should have. Yeah, because obviously the tones and the sounds that we make are all part of it as well. So much is expressed in kind of how we're saying as well as what we're saying. Maybe that's a part two. Maybe that's a part two, folks. So that's wonderful. Okay, we are oh, thank you very much. Oh yes, there's lots. I think we're going to share some text. There's so many that we could dive into. I guess it's about keeping it trim for a session of this length. But thank you ever so much, all of you, for your generosity and playfulness. Everyone's had such a great spirit, and yeah, been really playful and imaginative. So yeah, thank you so much. And it's just gotten started, but perhaps there's an opportunity to submit a word there. So maybe I'll get in touch and ask if I can include one of your words, or feel free to add any at any point. And yeah, keep being playful. Hold your little glossary close, or what I'm doing at the moment is making these and like slipping them into library books in public spaces, which is quite fun. But yeah, thank you for your time, and like huge thank you to Amanda, Georgia and Miguel for facilitating this kind of wonderfully rich series and for hosting me.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Becky. It was such a wonderful exhibition and such a great way to finish the series. And thank you to everyone for joining, and all participants who have joined across the series too.
Exactly. I also want to say thank you for a wonderful session, Becky. A great way to close the 3-part series. Thank you to the previous artists as well who participated, Nina Davies and Joe Pester, who also put together some 2 really invigorating, exciting workshops. And last but not least, thank you to Miguel and the series for hosting us. It's been a pleasure, and also to the Arts Council of Ireland, the Agility Award, for making this possible. It's been really great.
Well, thank you, Els. Thank you so much as well to everyone across the 3 sessions, particularly today. It was really impressive, not only what Becky has to share with us from some of the critical references, critical theory references and worldviews that she was able to introduce us to, but also like the set of exercises that really created a very challenging but also playful and vibrant way of interacting. Every time we are in these Zoom rooms, Zoom meetings, and every time we were together across this series, I was always very happy. I was always very happy with the level of discussion and interaction we had, and also how living, how we were still digesting lots of the conversations that we had post the event, and gearing up to the next one, and reflecting and bringing some of the thoughts that we were encountering to our, everyday life, thought process, and critical understanding of the world. So I want to thank everyone today and in the past sessions, particularly the artists, in particular Amanda and Georgia, for all the hard work and for all the contribution. And I look forward to seeing you all again somewhere, either in Cove, County Cork, Ireland, on a Zoom meeting or elsewhere. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.